On October 12, 1994, an entire American mountain town did the impossible overnight. They systematically erased their own reflections. Car windows, rain puddles, even the blank screens of televisions. Every shiny surface in Oakhaven was painted pitch black. They even stopped looking into each other's eyes. When the police arrived, they didn't find madness. They found desperate survival, because the townspeople had discovered what happens in the split second between looking at a mirror and seeing your reflection. In Oakhaven, vanity wasn't a sin, it was a death sentence. And whatever they locked behind that paint is finally starting to peel. Oakhaven was a standard, sleepy mountain town. Before the fall of 1994, its only defining trait was how profoundly unremarkable it was. That baseline of normalcy broke on the night of October 12th. A local deputy responded to a routine noise complaint at a suburban house. What he found in the driveway defied logic. An entire family was standing in the dark, systematically coating their car windows with thick, matte black industrial paint. It was not an isolated incident. By sunrise, every single reflective surface in Oakhaven had been covered. Storefront windows, bathroom mirrors, street puddles, and even the curved glass monitors were completely blacked out. When outside investigators arrived, they didn't find panic. The townspeople were perfectly quiet, and they moved with a steady, synchronized grace, methodically erasing any surface that could bounce back an image. The most disturbing behavioral detail wasn't the ruined glass. It was the fact that the residents absolutely refused to look at each other. They kept their heads angled down, deliberately avoiding the reflective sheen of another human eye. A coordinated town-wide eradication of reflections forces a specific question. You have to figure out if you're looking at a sudden shared psychological break or a highly calculated physical defense against an unseen threat. The initial reports filed by investigators leaned heavily on the mass hysteria theory. They assumed a shared, localized delusion had swept through the population. A recovered audio log from the local doctor shatters that theory. His recordings confirm that the residents' minds were perfectly intact. The anomaly actually started a week earlier in an antique shop. A resident purchased a piece known as the Century Mirror. This diagram illustrates the core mechanic of the antique. Instead of bouncing back light from the room, it showed the viewer's finished self. The reflection was an exact image of how you would look at the precise moment of your eventual death. An endpoint on your timeline loops back to the present. The mirror proved to be actively dangerous. The future death point was reaching backward along the timeline, overriding the woman's current physical state to match the reflection. Within minutes of stepping away from the antique, she began choking. She physically drowned on dry land, her lungs filling with non-existent water. This temporal collapse proved contagious. When neighbors looked through the antique shop window to help, they caught their own reflections in the glass. The shop window, and any surface that caught the original mirror's light, became a secondary transmitter for the effect. Within 48 hours, the reflection jumped from car mirrors to reading glasses to kitchen toasters. Residents were catching glimpses of their own walking corpses pacing right behind them in every available sheen. The matte black paint functioned as a survival protocol. By deleting the reflective surface, the residents were severing the connection point, physically blocking their future selves from crossing over into the present day. For 3 decades, Oakhaven has maintained a tense, non-reflective equilibrium. Survival requires a rigid, vanity-free lifestyle. Not a single person in town has looked at a shiny surface or their own reflection for 30 years. But their defense strategy relies entirely on physical materials. And physical materials eventually degrade. 30-year-old industrial paint dries out. It starts to blister and split under the harsh sun, creating microscopic fractures across the glass barricades. And those fractures reveal exactly what has been waiting on the other side of the barricade all this time. The survivors of Oakhaven operate under one absolute rule. The moment you make eye contact with your reflection, the quarantine is breached. True safety is impossible because the glass remembers. Once you see it, the reflection owns a piece of you, quietly waiting for the moment the paint peels away entirely. They say the only way to be safe is to never look at your own eyes again.